Elaine.
Circuit Court of Fairfax County is now in session. The Honorable Penny Ascarani presiding. Good morning, Chief. Please seated.
All right, good morning. All right, do we have any preliminary matters before we bring the jury out?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, good. Okay, that's fine. Which exhibit number is it?
1246.
1246? Okay, great. All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, you get the jury. 46. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All right, your next witness.
Good morning, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Depp calls Terrence Dougherty, Dougherty, and for the first part of the deposition, it will be Mr. Depp's counsel asking the questions, and then it will change and we'll let you know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, we have a loaded too, should we maybe tell ours?
Address.
360 Riverside Drive.
Good morning, Mr. Dougherty. Would you please state your full name for the record?
Terrence Dougherty.
What is your address?
360 Riverside Drive, New York, New York, 10025. I went to Oberlin College. I got a BA there, and with the majors in history and in English, and I studied viola da gamba performance at the Oberlin Conservatory. I then took 4 years. 4 years after I graduated, I went to Columbia Law School.
In what year did you receive your BA from Oberlin?
1991.
And what did you do in the 4 years between your graduation from Oberlin and going to law school?
I was a kindergarten teacher in the South Bronx at a homeless shelter for a few years. And then I did freelance editing work for an academic press named Routledge, and simultaneously was the writer, research assistant to feminist cultural critic Bell Hooks.
And remind me, sir, where you went to law school?
Columbia.
Did you receive your JD from Columbia?
I did.
In what year was that?
1998.
Having received a JD from Columbia, I take it you know what a statute of limitations is. Is that correct?
Correct.
After receiving your JD from Columbia, what did you do in terms of your professional life?
I worked at Fried, Frank, Harris, Shriver, and Jacobson for about 4 years, 3.5, 4 years. I was in their tax department. And after that, I went to work at Patterson Belknap. And I was also in the tax department there, but worked on primarily with their exempt organization clients. Patterson has a large exempt organization client practice.
Is it fair to say that you worked for Mr. Schwartz's firm, Patterson Belknap, from about 2002 until about 2005?
That's exactly right.
Did there come a time you left Patterson Belknap to work for the ACLU Foundation?
Correct.
At the time you left, was the ACLU a client of Patterson Belknap?
Yes.
And it continues to be a client until the present day, correct?
Correct.
Was there any time between 2005 and today where Patterson Belknap ceased to be a client of the ACLU?
No. You mean where the ACLU ceased to be a client of Patterson, right?
Yes, thank you for that correction.
Yeah, no, we've been a client the whole time. Not always with active matters, of course, but a client the whole time.
In what capacity did you start at the ACLU Foundation in 2005?
I was the ACLU's first in-house lawyer. My title was Senior Corporate Counsel.
What were your responsibilities generally when you began as Senior Corporate Counsel at the ACLU Foundation?
My role was to serve as the organization's in-house lawyer and to assess what the needs were for an in-house counsel department or practice at the ACLU.
And I take it you have continued to work as a lawyer at the ACLU on an uninterrupted basis from 2005 to the current day?
Correct. My title changed relatively soon after 2005. In either 2006 or early 2007, my title was changed to General Counsel.
Is that still your title today?
It's part of my title. I'm General Counsel and I'm also Chief Operating Officer.
To whom do you report?
I report to Anthony Romero, the Executive Director, Chief Executive Officer.
So that's a direct report. There's no intermediary between the two of you, correct?
Yeah, direct report.
Sitting here today, do you know how much money Ms. Hurd has actually donated to the ACLU, actually remitted to the ACLU?
Yes, I do.
How much is that?
So when you say remitted, do you mean direct payments from her personally, or do you mean payments on her behalf, or payments, from a donor-advised fund that she might have set up, or you?
We can break it down. Let's first from how much has Ms. Hurd paid directly to the ACLU?
That would be $350,000 paid directly.
How much has been paid indirectly and credited to Ms. Hurd?
There was $100,000, which was a check from Johnny Depp. There was a $500,000 payment from a donor-advised fund at Vanguard, and then there was a $350,000 payment that appears to be from a donor-advised fund at Fidelity, making it total $1.2 million.
And when you speak of credited toward Amber Hurd, to what are you referring?
And I think I might have done the math wrong. Let me just do the math in my head. It's 700, 800 plus the 5. I think 1.3 is the amount. We received a check from for the $100,000 payment. We received a check from Johnny Depp's representatives, and it was said to be a payment in connection with on behalf of Amber Hurd. She confirmed that. The $500,000 payment from Vanguard Charitable, she confirmed was a payment on her behalf. and the $350,000 payment as well.
When you say credited toward her, what does that mean?
Well, she had, when we initially had contact with Amber Heard in 2016, she indicated her desire to pay $3.5 million to the ACLU, and that was, and these were amounts that were in relation to that, her having expressed that that's what she wanted to pay to the ACLU.
So it's fair to say that she has not donated $3.5 million as of today to the ACLU, true?
True.
When you say that Mr. Depp, our client, donated $100,000 to be credited toward Amber Heard, did the ACLU in fact credit that $100,000 toward the $3.5 million Ms. Heard promised to donate to the ACLU?
We do credit it.
Did Ms. Heard direct you to credit it to her account, as it were?
We asked Ms. Heard if we should credit it, and she said that we should. So Vanguard Charitable is a nonprofit that Vanguard, the financial institution, has set up that provides for a wide variety of donor-advised funds for individuals to use for their charitable giving. So there are thousands of Vanguard charitable donor-advised funds. If you are asking specifically about the one that we received the $500,000 contribution from, we believe that that is a donor-advised fund that was set up by Elon Musk.
Who is Elon Musk?
He's a tech entrepreneur.
And isn't he also a donor to the ACLU Foundation in his own right?
Yes.
But it's your testimony that as to the $500,000 that came from Vanguard Charitable, that was associated with Elon Musk, correct?
We believe so, but it is not conclusive.
Did the ACLU have any communications with Elon Musk about the $500,000 contribution?
Yes.
And please describe those communications.
There is a document that we produced that Elon Musk emails Anthony Romero regarding the $500,000 contribution.
What did Ms. Heard tell Mr. Romero or the ACLU about her donation and how much she was going to contribute?
There were communications back and forth between the ACLU and Ms. Heard, including a thank you acknowledgement letter that was sent under Mr. Romero's name to Ms. Heard, thanking her for the $350,000 contribution, noting that it was part of her intention to make a $3.5 million contribution to the ACLU, and Mr. Romero attached to that communication a standard ACLU pledge form and so that was the communication. We were aware very early on that her intention to contribute the $3.5 million to us was half of her $7 million divorce proceedings. I don't recall which specific communication with us gave us that knowledge.
What, if any, understanding did the ACLU have prior to the publication of the op-ed about Ms. Heard's plans to dispose of the other half of the $7 million settlement, or the other $3.5 million?
Yes, we understood that the other $3.5 million, the other half, was going to a children's hospital in Los Angeles.
When did the first donation, the $350,000 from Ms. Heard, actually arrive at the ACLU?
It was very soon after the communication between Elon Musk and Anthony, and I believe that it was that communication was in August of 2016, and it was shortly thereafter.
Please describe your conversations with Ms. Weitz.
I asked Ms. Weitz whether it was her decision to ask Ms. Heard to be an ACLU ambassador, and she indicated that it was. I asked Ms. Weitz to describe what are the criteria for, sorry, a calendar thing popped up. What are the criteria for asking for becoming an ACLU ambassador? And what were the reasons why she thought that Ms. Heard would be an appropriate ACLU ambassador?
How did Ms. Weitz respond?
She said that ACLU ambassadors are people who are artists or influencers that are aligned with one or two ACLU policy issues. And the criteria for determining whether somebody can be an ambassador is that they have prior expertise in that policy area, that they can speak in detail about the area, that they are aligned with the ACLU's policy views of the area, and that they have significant following so that their communications to the public that we support reach a wide variety of people.
Of those criteria, which did Ms. Weitz identify as the most important, if any?
I don't think there's any that she did not identify any as the most important.
What, if anything, did Ms. Weitz tell you about Ms. Heard's expertise in women's rights?
Ms. Weitz said that she had arranged a meeting between Ms. Heard and representatives of our Women's Rights Project and our Reproductive Freedom Project, and Ms. Heard spoke with such clarity and expertise on issues of gender-based violence that she decided that she would be an appropriate person to ask to become an ACLU ambassador, and she did so.
What, if anything, did Ms. Weitz tell you about Ms. Heard's significant following?
Ms. Weitz said that she looked at Ms. Heard's social media.
Anything else?
No, not that she said to me.
All right, let's look to topic 6. What, if anything, did you do to prepare to testify about your role, the ACLU's role in the conception, preparation, drafting, or publication of the op-ed?
I reviewed the documents that we produced. I had 3 meetings with our lawyers. I spoke with Ms. Weitz and Mr. Romero.
Please describe your discussions with Ms. Weitz.
I asked Ms. Weitz whether she was involved and what her involvement was with respect to the conception, preparation, drafting, and our publication of the op-ed. And she indicated that because of her role as our Director of Artistic Engagement, she was involved in all aspects of the conception, preparation, drafting, and publication, and that the other members of the communications department who worked on this even though they didn't necessarily report to her in terms of our hierarchy, they reported to her in terms of this specific task. She was the person who was the director of this project.
Did Ms. Weitz tell you that she participated in the drafting of the op-ed?
She was yes. Ms. Weitz is not a lawyer. So were there lawyers involved in the drafting of the op-ed? I believe it was the drafting of the op-ed was all done within the communications department.
What is Ms. Weitz's academic background?
I don't know her academic background.
Was any ACLU lawyer, and I mean in-house lawyer, involved in the drafting of the op-ed?
I believe the answer is yes. I believe that there are documents that support back and forth between support for the op-ed, but I don't recall.
Sitting here today, do you know how many ACLU lawyers were involved in the drafting of the op-ed?
No, I don't.
Were there any ACLU lawyers involved in the reviewing of the op-ed before it was submitted to the Washington Post?
Yes, there were.
How many?
I think there were 4.
Were you one of the 4?
No, I was not one of the 4. And to be clear, when what I was referring to were people in our legal department who are experts on women's rights issues. There was nobody from neither I nor anybody on my in-house counsel team was involved in the drafting of the op-ed or the review of the op-ed.
Why not?
We were not involved. We were not brought into the loop. I don't know why.
Is it fair to say that the ACLU didn't think there were any potential legal implications to the ACLU involved in the publication of the op-ed?
I have not spoken with any of the lawyers in the legal department about whether they thought it would be necessary to involve any member of my in-house counsel team in the review of the op-ed.
Who were the 4 attorneys in-house at the ACLU who were involved in reviewing the op-ed before it was submitted to the Washington Post?
Okay, so I was referring to people in the legal department, not the in-house counsel's office, the legal department who do our work, our civil liberties litigation and advising on legal issues relating to civil liberties. And I believe that the op-ed, the 4, was reviewed by Lenora Lapidus, David Cole, I believe Louise Melling was involved, and there may have also been a fellow that was involved in reviewing it. These are all, there are a number of back and forth emails that we produced that will indicate specifically who those people were.
Okay, let's move to Exhibit 2, please.
Yes, sir. Stand by.
Mr. Doherty, have you ever seen this document before?
Yes.
What is it?
These are conversations within the ACLU Communications Department about Ms. Hurd donations to the ACLU and the possible engagement of that issue as a communications matter for the ACLU.
Mr. Doherty, if we could start in the email in the middle of the first page of Exhibit 2.
The middle of the first page. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Who is Stacy Sullivan?
Stacy Sullivan was a senior person in our communications department.
Is she still at the ACLU?
No.
When did she leave? Who is Stephen Smith?
Stephen Smith, at the time, was our Associate Director for Strategic Communications. Now he is the Deputy Communications Director.
And I believe you testified earlier that Mr. Romero first came to learn about this through Elon Musk. Is that right?
Correct.
Tell us exactly who ACLU Media is. You said it's
an email account that is monitored by members of the communication staff so that when media inquiries come in, rather than them going to a specific individual in the communications department who could be working on something else or on leave, it goes to a central email account that is then monitored and emails within it are directed to the appropriate people.
Who's Sandra?
I assume that is Sandra Park, who is a lawyer in our Women's Rights Project.
Was Ms. Park involved in the op-ed in any way, either reviewing or approving?
I believe she was.
And that coverage is good for the ACLU, correct?
Yes.
And the press coverage, among other things, enabled the ACLU to promote its work helping victims of domestic violence, correct?
Correct.
Specifically, how does the ACLU record donations?
We record donations in our donor database. It's referred in the trade as a CRM, a constituent record management system. And at this time, our CRM was a company called PIDI. At this point, our CRM is with Salesforce.
Is there anyone at the ACLU who interacts or who interacted with PIDI?
There are many members of our development department that interacted with PIDI with respect to the functioning support of that system and the vendor relationship. And I'm not sure if you're asking this, but then there are a number of people in the development department who can input donor information into this database. I don't see them as having interaction with PIDI, but it's with our database.
What type of information is input?
It's very broad. The names, address, contact information, donations, prior history with donations, issues that they are particularly interested in. It's also differs depending on the nature of the donor. If somebody gives a $50 annual donation, that is recorded. If somebody is a $3 million a year donor to the ACLU, a different level of information is recorded in the system.
If someone makes a donation on behalf of another person or to be credited to another person, how is that recorded by the ACLU?
It is reported as such, as relating to, but there's many different ways that could somebody could give on behalf of somebody else. People can make a gift in honor of somebody else. People can make a gift in order to fulfill someone else's pledge. People can make a gift. A donor may help bring another donor to the ACLU. All of that information is recorded in our systems.
Can a donor earmark his or her donation for a particular purpose?
Absolutely.
After Ms. Heard announced her donation to the ACLU, what specifically did the ACLU do to document that donation?
Well, we sent out a note to Amber thanking her for the donation. That is likely the contribution acknowledgement letter that Mimi is referring to. And that information was kept in our files. And the information regarding Ms. Heard was recorded in our Salesforce, or at the time, PIDI database.
At the time the ACLU sent Ms. Heard the acknowledgement letter, was it the ACLU's expectation that the $3.5 million would be paid by Ms. Heard in all at once in a lump sum?
No, I do not believe it was. I believe that we believed that it would, based on the Elon Musk email, we thought that it might be, that it was intended to be over a 10-year period, although that was never specifically confirmed.
Well, that's interesting. What email are you referring to?
I believe that the first email from Elon Musk to Anthony Romero said that it was over a 10-year period.
Anything else to make the ACLU believe that Ms. Heard was not paying the money right away out of her divorce settlement with Mr. Depp?
Anthony, in his communications with Ms. Heard, referred to the amount as a pledge, and a pledge is generally what a pledge means is that the amount is not necessarily paid all at once. It's pledged to the organization rather than just sending a check. There's some kind of varying levels of commitment made to give amounts over a period of time, which is, excuse me, useful for the charity to know so that it can make future projections as to income.
Mr. Doherty, who, if anyone, at the ACLU was assigned to handle or track Ms. Heard's donation?
That would have been two different people, depending on what you mean by track. There is a person in our leadership gifts department, which is the department that deals with high-level donors. His name is John Moresco, and his role is to, in addition to facilitating, maintaining the relationship with those donors, is to oversee the back and forth with those donors for annual giving. So in this case, that would include Ms. Heard's gifts to the ACLU. And then there's a second group within the development department that is the team that maintains the overall donor database, the then PIDI, now Salesforce database.
Okay, was Exhibit 9 prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
It's not back up on the screen yet. Okay, here it is. Yes, it was.
Is it maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Were these emails, to your knowledge, prepared contemporaneously with people having knowledge of the contents?
Correct.
Okay, if we could please move ahead to Exhibit 11.
Yes, sir. Stand by.
Okay, I see it.
Mr. Doherty, you've ever seen this document before?
I have.
Is this one of the documents that you reviewed in preparation for your deposition today?
Yes.
Was this prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it prepared by Mr. Romero contemporaneously on or about September 19th, 2016?
It was prepared by someone in our development department who I believe to be Mimi Clara, but yes, to the rest of your
Does
question.
Romero have knowledge of the contents of this letter that he signed?
Yes.
So he states to Ms. Hurd, thank you for your wonderful gift of $350,000 to the ACLU, the first installment of your very generous pledge of $3.5 million. You see that?
Yes.
So as of September 9th, 2016, Ms. Hurd had actually donated only $350,000, correct?
Correct.
Now, if you have you ever seen this page before? And it's called Pledge Form, page number ACLU 3033.
Yes, I have.
What is it?
This is a document that is used, well, in the generic document is one that is used regularly by the development department. This one in particular is branded in connection with our 100th year anniversary, but that's just a branding thing. What the form is a form for people who are making pledges to the ACLU to document that that promise in a form like this. When a form like this is filled out, we see that as that documents the full amount that they intend to contribute and the time period over which those gifts are going to be made.
And is it your understanding, sir, that this pledge form and the two documents after it, ACLU 3034 and 3035, were in fact attached? And who prepared this ACLU 3033, the pledge form?
I believe that, well, it was somebody in our development department. I don't know whether it was Mimi Clara or John Ruska or someone else, but it was somebody who was preparing it in connection with the preparation of the tax acknowledgement letter.
There's a reference on top of the pledge form, Amber Heard, Kara Pierce O'Donnell, Greenberg, Glusker, and then there's some other names. Do you know what the firm Greenberg Glusker had to do with Amber Heard?
No.
And you have no idea why it was sent to Ms. Heard, care of Mr. O'Donnell at Greenberg Glusker?
I expect that it is the case that, well, many of our significant donors have representatives that we work directly with on technical things such as a pledge form.
Okay. And directing your attention to the next page that was attached to Mr. Romero's letter, it also says pledge form, but it has some columns.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that this is a proposed schedule for payment of the remaining $3.5 million donation?
That is what it is.
And do you know that who came up with this proposed schedule?
I don't know who prepared this form and don't know who told the person who prepared this form to do the gift payment schedule in this way.
Do you see at the bottom of that page, ACLU 3034, part of Exhibit 11, that there is a signature line?
Correct. Yes, I do.
Did Ms. Heard ever sign this pledge schedule?
No.
Did anyone at Greenberg Glusker or anyone else on behalf of Ms. Heard ever sign this form?
No.
Why not?
I don't know the answer.
Did Ms. Heard ever agree to any schedule for the payment of her $3.5 million donation?
There are documents that we produced that point to Ms. Heard being aware of this as a multi-year commitment, including the Elon Musk email to Anthony and back and forth between Anthony and Amber on an annual basis about her, about this gift.
My question was actually a simple one. Did Ms. Heard ever agree to any schedule for the payment of the remainder of the $3.5 million donation?
I don't recall her having seeing anything where she agreed to a 10-year schedule like this.
Let's go now, please, back to Exhibit 10.
Sir, stand by.
Okay. Mr. Doherty, have you ever seen this exhibit, Exhibit 10, before?
I have.
What is it?
This is an email exchange that includes Anthony Romero, our Director of Development, Mark Weir, the Executive Director of our Southern California affiliate, which encompasses LA, and me, regarding the check that we received from Johnny Depp's representatives in the amount of $100,000.
Was Exhibit 10 prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes,
Was it maintained by the ACLU in the ordinary course of its business?
yes,
Were these emails prepared contemporaneously by people having knowledge of the content?
yes.
Okay, let's move please to the second page of the exhibit. The email from Hector Villagra to Anthony Romero, dated August 25, 2016 at 12:44 p.m. Do you see that?
12
At the bottom of this page.
at the bottom of this page?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yep, 1244, yes.
Is Anthony Romero?
Yes.
And who is Hector Villagra?
Hector is the executive director of the ACLU of Southern California.
And you see where he informs Mr. Romero the actual check is for Mr. Depp, care of his CPA, and handwritten on the check it says donation being made in the name of Amber Heard. So I think you've testified that the ACLU in fact received a $100,000 check from Johnny Depp, correct?
Correct.
And do you know why Mr. Depp asked that it be credited to the name of Amber Heard?
No, I don't.
Mr. Villagra tells Mr. Romero that he has been designated, or that he has been the point person. What does that mean?
Hold on, let me just find that.
It's at the very end of the exhibit on the next page.
Oh, okay. My staff let me know that you have been the point person. Yes, Hector is saying that Anthony was the main person with the relationship with Amber as a donor.
And why was Mr. Romero the point person?
Mr. Romero is our one of our most significant fundraisers at the organization, and he has a specific portfolio of donors that he and his team, such as John Moresco, support.
And do you see, going back to the second page of the exhibit, Mr. Romero's response to Mr. Villagra, copied to Mark Weir that same day, or strike that on August 25th? Do you see that?
I do.
Now let's move back to the first page. And do you see the email from Mark Weiler to Hector Villagra, copied to Mimi Clara, on or about August 25th at 11:12 a.m.?
Yes.
So he says, just spoke with Anthony, strike that. Just spoke with Anthony, who just got off the phone with Elon Musk. And Anthony refers to Anthony Romero, correct?
Correct.
Why was Mr. Romero discussing the herd donation with Elon Musk?
My understanding is that Anthony reached out to Elon Musk because he had a prior relationship with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk was the person who first contacted Anthony about the donation, about a donation from Amber.
And wasn't Mr. Romero specifically asking him about Mr. Depp's donation of $100,000?
That's how I read this email, yes.
And if you look down, just below that, the email from Mr. Villagra to Mark Weir, and he says, got it, we will hold the check. That's a reference to the ACLU's holding the check from Johnny Depp, correct?
That's how I read this.
Okay, so now moving back up to that email from Mr. Weiler to Mr. Villagra, copied to Mimi Clara, he says, we're going to draft an email from Anthony to Amber explaining the situation and asking for her advice. What does he mean there?
I take that to mean that we wanted to hear from Amber regarding whether this gift was attributable to the amounts that she wanted to contribute to the ACLU.
Did the ACLU in fact reach out to Ms. Heard about Mr. Depp's $100,000 donation?
Yes, there are documents that we produced that show a back and forth on that point between Anthony and Ms. Heard.
And Mr. Weiler, or Mr. Weir, writes, I'll keep you in the loop, but definitely hold the check until we get clearance from Amber. Why would the ACLU need clearance from Amber Heard before it accepted a $100,000 donation from Johnny Depp?
My understanding of this is that we wanted to know whether this, before we cashed this check, whether it was in relation to the Amber Heard desire to contribute to the ACLU as opposed to a separate desire by Johnny Depp to contribute to us individually. And in fact, the communication from Johnny Depp's representative said that it was in connection with Amber Heard, so we wanted to clarify what was going on.
So moving to the email directly above that from Hector Villagra to Mark Weir, he says, we have more folks than I knew who followed TMZ. Here's their latest report. Amber Heard calls BS on Johnny's charity donation. Now you owe double. What's that a reference to?
I don't really know specifically, other than to say that this is more indication that we were unclear of whether the Johnny Depp gift would count toward the amounts that Amber said she wanted to contribute to the ACLU.
And then directing your attention to the top email in Exhibit 10, Mr. Weir responds, she's calling Johnny out on the $14 million in the press. What does that refer to?
I don't know. I'm not aware of how 14 million plays into any of this.
Okay, let's move ahead to Exhibit 12, please. Mr. Doherty, have you ever seen this document before?
Just making it larger. Yes, I have.
And what is it?
This is Amber confirming that we can cash Mr. Depp's check.
And did Ms. Heard, in fact, send this to Mr. Romero on or about October 17th, 2016?
Yes.
And is this a document that was created in the was maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
And it's true that the ACLU ultimately deposited Mr. Depp's check for $100,000, correct?
Correct.
Did the ACLU credit the $100,000 paid by Mr. Depp toward Ms. Heard's $3.5 million pledge or donation?
We do credit that $100,000 amount toward the toward Amber Heard's charitable giving to the ACLU.
Where, if at all, is that credit reflected in the ACLU's records?
There are documents that we produced that show the fact that this was considered part of Amber Heard's charitable giving to the ACLU.
After the ACLU received Ms. Heard's initial $350,000 payment, it received press inquiries about the Heard donation, correct?
Correct.
How many?
Oh, I don't know the specific number, sorry.
Was this document, Exhibit 20, maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business contemporaneously by people having knowledge of the contents?
Yes.
On what date was Ms. Heard appointed an ACLU ambassador?
It was in October of 2018.
Okay, let's move ahead, please, to Exhibit 22. Did the ACLU ever issue a press release regarding the Vanguard $500,000 contribution?
I don't believe we ever issued a press release in 2017 regarding Amber Heard's donations to the ACLU.
Why not?
We received an email from Amber that is in the documents that says that we don't need to do this. We shouldn't do this this press release.
Let's go to 24, please.
Stand by.
Mr. Doherty, have you ever seen this document, Exhibit 24, before?
Yes.
What is it?
This is Anthony in his email to the one we just saw said that his comms people were going to be reaching out to Amber's people. And so Steve then starts that process, and Amber then Amber responds and says that she's no longer working with Pierce and introduces Steve to her new lawyer, Eric George. And she indicates that she has a concern about issuing a press statement.
Is this document maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
And was it prepared contemporaneously by people having knowledge of its contents?
Yes.
I'd like to direct your attention to the email at the top of the page. You see the email at the top of the page from Ms. Heard to Jody Gottlieb and others dated July 6, 2017?
I do.
Have you ever seen this document before?
Yes.
What is it?
This is Amber letting Steve know that she's no longer working with Pierce, but instead working with a new lawyer, and indicating to Steve that she is going to be talking with her PR team about whether, about issuing a press statement about her 2017, issuing a press statement about her 2017 gift.
And directing your attention, she writes, their concern is that the press could potentially spin the fact that this is an installment and not the entire lump sum, as you well know, isn't possible due to the structure of the settlement agreement. The settlement agreement is a reference to the settlement agreement between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard of their divorce, correct?
I read that to reference to the settlement agreement to be the settlement agreement between Heard and Depp, but I don't have any independent knowledge of that.
What was the basis of your belief that she was going to pay you every year?
The original communications and her response to us when we reached out to her, and she indicated, on a number of occasions that this was something that she was going to be looking into.
But she didn't do it, did she?
What we did receive was the $500,000 Vanguard charitable contribution, and then the next year, the $350,000 contribution.
She didn't pay you on an annual basis, did she?
Yes, we didn't receive any amounts in 2019 and on.
Let's move up to the middle email on the page. Mr. Weir to Steve Smith. Thanks, Steve. Her gift is technically unrestricted, but it is weighted towards women's rights issues. What does that mean?
What that means is that there's a particular type of gift that is legally restricted for a specific purpose, and that could be that the restriction could be done in a number of ways. That was not done in this situation, but nonetheless, the intention in making gifts to the ACLU was to support that work. So there's that subtle distinction, and this is not an uncommon one at the ACLU.
After the Vanguard payment of $500,000 in July 2017, what, if any, payments did Ms. Heard make to the ACLU?
There was one more payment of $350,000 that came from Fidelity Charitable. So it looked to be from a donor-advised fund at Fidelity.
And when was that donor-advised Fidelity payment made?
In 2018.
So
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, we have a document that we produced that shows the contributions that we've received from Fidelity Charitable and the timing for each of those. One of which includes includes the Amber Heard 350.
Okay, if we could please move to Exhibit 39.
Yes, understand.
Showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 39. Have you ever seen this document before?
Hold on, can we get the base stamp number, please?
It is 3037, ACLU.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm directing your attention to the penultimate entry on that page.
Yes,
There appears to be a reference. Well, first of all, have you ever seen this document before?
I have.
And what is it?
This is a document that we created that lists the contributions made to the ACLU on a specific date, December 11, 2018, that came from the online at Fidelity charitable account.
And is this document maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
The information in this is maintained in the ordinary course of this business. We created this document in response to the discovery requests.
And does it truthfully and accurately reflect the donations made to the ACLU online on or about December 11th, 2018?
I believe that it does. It is a document that I believe our development department pulled information from Salesforce, our current CRM, into an Excel, and that's what this is.
So directing your attention to the penultimate entry on this page said $350,000 designation, donation from Amber Heard.
Mm-hmm.
What does that refer to?
What that refers to is that since the giving account are the names of the Fidelity Charitable Donor Advised Funds, which is the column in the right, this one is designated as anonymous, meaning that the person who set up the donor advised fund, in this case, I believe Amber, wanted it to be an anonymous donor advised fund. So that it would be within her discretion to decide which gifts were that she recommended were her recommendations or not. And so we put into this special purpose category, we marked that this was a donation from Amber Heard, meaning a recommendation from her to make a contribution from her donor advised fund.
So this is an anonymous donation for someone in Amber Heard's name, correct?
It is anonymous to when this donor advised fund was set up, it was determined that that the gifts would presumptively be anonymous unless she were to recommend to state otherwise.
And did she ever state otherwise?
We believed that this was that she indicated that this was her $350,000 gift, and that's why we put into the column that this was a donation recommended by her from her donor advised fund.
But the money did not come from her, correct?
The money went from her to her donor advised fund, and then she recommended that the funds be paid from Fidelity to us. So the amount that $350 we received did not come from her directly. It came from what we believe to be her donor advised fund at Fidelity that she set up.
What basis, other than Ms. Heard's telling you, does the ACLU have for the proposition that Ms. Heard paid the money to Fidelity before it came and was given to the ACLU?
What we have is what she told us, which is how donor advised funds that are anonymous work. The only thing that we legally needed to know was that this came from the Fidelity charitable, and that's the kind of reporting that we would do on this. For example, if we were reporting on this gift in our tax filings or anything like that, we then, our donors who have donor advised funds, they then let us know that they made that recommendation, and we then credit it to them as being associated with their giving to us in our CRM.
Well, Mr. Doherty, I didn't ask you what the ACLU was legally provided the funds to Fidelity, and your answer is nothing, right?
Go ahead.
I don't believe there was anything else. I don't know what else we would have gotten.
So, just so the record is clear, the ACLU relied only on Ms. Heard, that she was the ultimate source of the Fidelity funds, correct?
Yes.
Because you've already testified that Ms. Heard was not the original source of the funds for the $500,000 Vanguard contribution, correct?
We received that $500,000 from Vanguard, their 501c3, not from any other person.
Right, but Vanguard was associated with Mr. Musk, true?
We believe that to be the case, yes.
Okay. So after this December 2018 donation, has Ms. Heard made any donations directly or indirectly to the ACLU?
No, those are the four contributions, the four that we've discussed.
Well, we're almost 3 years since her last contribution. What, if any, efforts has the ACLU made to get Amber Heard to pay?
We reached out to Ms. Heard. We reached out to Ms. Heard starting in 2019 for the next installment of her giving, and we learned that she was having financial difficulties.
Well, let's unpack that. So, when in 2019 did the ACLU reach out to Ms. Heard about making her promised contributions?
I don't recall the date, but there is a document that we produced that was an email from Anthony to Amber about this in 2019.
Okay, let's move ahead to Exhibit 67, please. Have you seen these documents, these attachments before?
Yes, I've seen these.
Okay, and we'll just go through them one by one if you don't mind.
Sure.
If you look at Bates number 4673, it says $350,000, December 11th, 2018. What is that?
I believe this is this tracks with the Excel spreadsheet that we looked at just a few moments ago that talks about online giving through the Fidelity Charitable Fund, and whereas the prior one listed all of the December 11th, 2018 gifts, this one lists the $350,000 gift from from the Amber's donor advised fund.
Moving to the next page, it says designation donor from Amber Heard. Do you see that?
Yes.
What does designation mean?
So this was the column in Salesforce that allows us to include additional information about gifts, in particular whether they are restricted in a certain way. And so that's why the term designation is used. And here, I think we filled into that designation field the information that we knew to be the case, which was that this was a recommendation from Amber Heard's donor advised fund.
Okay, now if you move to the next page, 4675, there's just one word on that, and it's anonymous. Do you know what that means?
This corresponds to the column of that same spreadsheet that listed the names of the donor advised funds that individuals set up at Fidelity, and that the name of the Amber one was anonymous.
Now, when Ms. Heard made her direct payment, her first contribution of $350,000, that was not designated as anonymous, wasn't it? Was it?
That was not a gift from a donor advised fund, so there weren't those columns for us to fill out. It was just a gift to the ACLU. And I do believe that in Anthony's acknowledgement letter to that included the pledge form that wasn't signed, he included a question about anonymity and whether we could list her as a donor in our annual report. So that was our first connection with her. So, we weren't sure whether her giving would be anonymous or not.
Well, the first donation wasn't anonymous, correct?
No, because it was not anonymous. But what I'm saying here is that this is the name. I believe this is the name of her donor advised fund at Fidelity. And the first time she gave us a gift, I think it came right out of her own, banking accounts.
Right. And between the time Ms. Heard made her first donation of $350,000 directly, which is attributed directly to her, and the time this anonymous donation comes in, did anybody at the ACLU have any discussion with Ms. Heard as to whether she wanted anonymity?
I don't believe she did.
Okay, if you could move ahead, please, to page number 4678.
Yes.
Have you ever seen this document before?
Yes.
What is it?
This is the document that Vanguard Charitable, so Vanguard's 501c3 nonprofit, uses when someone makes a recommendation from a Vanguard Charitable donor advised fund to give an amount to a charity. And they then send this letter saying that they, Vanguard, are giving this amount to the charity. And it describes whether, this is the document that would describe whether or not the donor wants to be anonymous or even wants to indicate to us who they are.
And this is the Vanguard contribution about which you testified earlier, correct?
Correct.
Let's move ahead, please. And have you ever seen this document before?
I have.
And is this one of the documents that you reviewed in the context of preparing for this deposition?
Yes.
And directing your attention to the middle of the page, it says, remark from Amber Heard. What does that signify?
This, I'm sorry, I'm counting the 3 seconds. This is a record of a wire into our accounts at JP Morgan Chase in the amount of $350,000 from Amber Heard's account
And
at
this was
City National Bank.
And this was her first contribution, correct?
Yes, this is the 2016 August contribution.
Okay, and if you could move ahead, please, to the next page, ACLU 4680. Have you ever seen this document before?
I have.
What is it?
This is the original email from Elon to Amber and Anthony describing her plan to donate to the ACLU over the next 10 years and her support for our work, and that she wasn't restricting the gift. She just had a preference about the use of the funds, and that Anthony would forward her the wiring instructions, and then he did so, and then the $350,000 was wired, as we saw in that last JP Morgan Chase ACLU bank account wire record. And so Anthony let Amber know that we received it.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. So the email in the middle of the page was an email sent to Mr. Romero from Elon Musk on or about August 18th, 2016 at 1:14 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And he says, Amber, I described your plan to donate $3.5 million to the ACLU over the next 10 years, as you very much believe in what they are doing. You see that?
Yes.
Why was Ms. Heard, or strike that, why was Mr. Musk representing this on behalf of Ms. Heard?
I don't know the answer to that question, but assume it's because of Elon's prior relationship with Anthony and that he indicated, I will make that introduction for you.
He is representing that Ms. Heard's plan was to donate $3.5 million over the next 10 years. Is that correct?
Correct, that was her plan.
Did Ms. Heard ever say in words or substance that Mr. Musk was not correct and that wasn't her plan?
I do not believe she ever said that.
So she never refuted Mr. Musk's representation that she was going to pay the full $3.5 million, correct?
It isn't the case that she didn't object to that she was going to pay the 3.5. It's just that she didn't object that that was her plan as of August 18th, 2016.
Thank you, Mr. Doherty. Let's move to the next page, which is 4681.
Yes.
And you see at the top it says Salesforce screenshot. Would you remind us, please, what Salesforce is?
It's our current CRM, our constituent record management system, which is where we store all the information we have about our donors. We call it our donor database.
And I believe that we've seen a version of this in an email from Mr. Moresco, correct?
I do recall that this this is part of documents that we produced.
Okay, well, let's start from the bottom up. if you look at the bottom entry in the column, it's had the entry that has a close date 8/19/2016, completed $350,000. What does that mean?
That's a record of her $350,000 contribution to us.
And you see the designation, the giving name pledge payment?
I do.
And what does that refer to?
That this was in connection with her overall plan to make a contribution to us of $3.5 million.
Okay, now let's move up to the entry in the middle of the chart. It says Ms. Amber Heard's soft credit 2017, close date June 12, 2017, completed $500,000. What does that mean?
That's the record of the Vanguard charitable contribution in 2017.
Why does it say soft credit instead of pledge payment?
Because it didn't come directly from Amber. It came from the Vanguard Charitable Trust, Charitable Fund. And we wanted to continue to associate it, though, with Amber in our donor database.
Is it customary for the ACLU to make distinctions between hard donations, that is coming directly from the donor, and donations made by others in the donor's name?
It's extremely important for us to understand whether funds came directly to us from a donor, from a donor's donor-advised fund, or from another donor altogether. That's all very helpful information to us as we think through our fundraising program.
So, but my question was, is it common practice? And it sounds like it is common practice because you say it's important, correct?
Yeah, I believe it's a common practice.
Okay, and then let's look at the top entry in the chart.
Yes.
This is for the December 2018 payment, and I believe you testified this is the last payment Ms. Heard has made, correct?
Correct.
And it says Ms. Amber Heard donation 2018 payment. What does this signify?
This relates to the 2018 $350,000 gift that we got, which I believe came from Amber's donor advised fund at Fidelity.
Okay, and let's close this out by looking at 4682. Purports to be an email from Liz Fitzgerald to Jonathan Maresco. Who is Liz Fitzgerald?
Liz Fitzgerald's then title was Director of Special Gifts, but her current title is the Director of Development. She's the number 2 in our development department. She reports directly to Mark Weir. And even then, as Director of Special Gifts, she reported directly to Mark Weir.
Okay. All right. And with respect to Exhibit 67, the attachments that we've described, were they created in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
The only one that I would not say was in our ordinary course of business is number 4681, in that this was created in connection with a discussion with Amber Heard's attorneys about Amber's donations to the ACLU.
But all of the other documents in this exhibit were created in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, correct?
Correct. And even this one came from our donor database, which is something that we keep in the ordinary course of our business.
And it's your testimony sitting here today that the information depicted on ACLU 4681 is accurate and reflects the accounting records kept in the ACLU's ordinary course of business, correct?
It is correct that we received the 350, the 500, and the 350, and that we associated them all in some way with Amber. It does not list the 100,000 Johnny Depp payment, and there's differing terms that are used in that. I'm not sure we would use the term soft credit. We might refer to another way now. After that 2017 gift, that's when we launched the new database system, the Salesforce system, and prior it had been the PIDI system. So we had been doing some changes to definitions about how we record gifts. But the basic, which is that these are all associated with Amber Heard, these three gifts, that is absolutely accurate.
Well, you raised a good point. Why isn't the $100,000 donated by Johnny Depp credited to Amber Heard?
I think it should have been recorded in our database because it's information that we would want to have in that database about gifts relating to our relationship with Amber Heard. And we now do consider that gift as part of the constellation of gifts that are attributed to our relationship with Amber Heard.
So that's how you would get from the 1.2 million to the 1.3 million, right?
Yes, 700 plus 8 plus 1 is 800 plus 500 is 1.3. Correct.
So the ACLU sitting here today attributes $1.3 million toward Ms. Heard's $3.5 million pledge, correct?
Correct.
And of that $1.3 million, $100,000 was paid by Johnny Depp, true?
Correct.
So putting aside 4681, all of the emails prepared by ACLU employees in the course of their ordinary business?
Yeah, I'm just reminding myself. Well, I believe that 4679 was also downloaded from our records in relation to this litigation matter. I don't believe that we created this document and had it in a paper file somewhere, but I think we pulled this information, this wiring information. It may be the same wiring information that was looked at the time that the donation was made.
So Exhibit 67, it's fair to say, is comprised of ACLU business records kept and maintained in the ordinary course, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Excuse me, Your Honor, we're going to change topics with Mr. Doherty. And
Take our morning break.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, let's go ahead and take our 15-minute recess. Do not discuss the case with anybody, and don't do any outside research, and we'll see you then. Okay. All right, listen.